Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to the Vaults Remastered. We're going to continue with the sixth episode, the sixth strategy I've been talking about, in a series about how to go about increasing player engagement in your TTRPG. I'm running a Pathfinder game by the name of Vaults of the Underearth, but you might be running a D&D game, or you might be running some Call of Cthulhu, Numenera, whatever it is you're running, whatever genre, really doesn't matter because all of these strategies, I think, are universal as far as their applications. So let's talk about number six. The list of 10 is here, but the sixth one I'm getting into today is this idea of character specific quests to advance your plot. Now, what's up with this one? Why is it important? Well, maybe you've got a couple players in your game. You've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 players, and a couple people, man, they don't really seem like they're getting into it, or they seem like they're bored. And maybe some of the time it's because you really haven't talked about their character that much, right? You've been kind of doing this other thing. The quests are going this other way. The main plot's going this other way. And their character was built and designed. And, as an example, let's say they've got the prototypical ranger outdoorsy kind of dude, but everything lately's been in some, dungeon sort of scenario, and that ranger really can't pursue their wants and needs and their goals that they had, which was, outdoorsy sort of stuff. And you're like, dang, I feel bad for this player. Like, what can I do? Well, here's an example or a strategy is trying to find some character specific quests that you can inject into your game to not only help this individual player but further the overall plot. So this is an intentional strategy that you want to come up with early and often as you can. So hey, what is this all about? You're creating character focused quests. And you need the backstories, you need the personal goals of your players. And I've mentioned this in a couple of my previous videos in the series. I have an 18 question questionnaire that I've put out. I think the link is in the third video in the series. But I have 18 questions that I ask my players. Hey, tell me about your character. Give me their wants, their needs, whatever. That sort of stuff. And from that, I can use it to do this sort of a thing, character focused quests. The key, I think, here is it shouldn't just be some side quest that goes off in a tangent just to kind of maybe make somebody feel good, although that's always an admirable goal. But it also still needs to be tied to the main story. It still should be integral to the plot and progressing the whole thing in a forward direction, whichever direction that is. Now, hey, why are we doing this? Again, this should be kind of obvious. Well, you want to do this because it allows specific characters who maybe normally haven't had a chance, or players who might be more introverted, it gives them a chance to step up and take the lead. And it doesn't need to necessarily mean that they're calling all the shots in a particular session and nobody else is speaking. No, it could simply be that the setting of the session might be in that character's hometown, and this character knows the way around, or they know who to talk to, they know who the innkeeper is, they know who the shopkeeper is, something like that. They know where the entrance to the hidden, basement dungeon, location is. They are in charge in that sense. They are knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than the rest of the party. Of course, the other reason for this is it allows you to intentionally shift the spotlight and put it on different characters to let them literally shine in the moment. And this allows them to give a contribution that's going to go towards the group's objectives. And this is a great little strategy, little technique, because maybe you got some of the super extroverted players and they're constantly coming up with all the ideas. And you can use this strategy to say, well, hold on, spotlight shift over to this other character. Hey, what does, your character think, considering that this person you're going to go meet is your uncle, right? Whatever, you've tied in something from the backstory. Or hey, this quest we're on is given to us by, your sister, whatever the case may be. That spotlight is shifted over to that character and it mutes everybody else because their character wouldn't know. So bam, you put the spotlight. So it's a very intentional attempt to get a player to come in and step forward. All right, how do we go about applying this strategy? Well, whenever you're trying to go for personal relevance, so you are coming up with a quest and you want it to be relevant for a specific character or characters. So you're specifically designing something that's going to tie into that character's story. It's going to take the threads that make that character unique and use them to weave into this bigger, this bigger tapestry of the story you're trying to tell. But again, you're always trying to make sure that this is going to be tied in the big picture and moving things in the forward direction. Because even though, if you think about it this way, if you're like, oh, I feel bad for this person who's not really been able to participate too much, let's say my ranger example, the outdoorsy ranger, and you've got this subterranean dungeon game that you've been running for a while. Oh, I know. We'll have a sudden quest or go to the surface to go get some apples from the nearby orchard for some reason, right? It made no sense. But instead, maybe a quest is there's some mystical subterranean orchard in the dungeon that the ranger who's been sitting on their butt the whole time, hey, you now can help with this particular thing. And I've actually done this in my vaults campaign a bit because I've created a couple of fantastical locations within this normally cavernous, darklands or underdark, typical setting, and I've had like a fey underground forest where there's twisted, trees and stuff like that. But it's very, because a lot of fey energy is concentrated there, so it gives more outdoorsy characters a chance to kind of shine in that environment. So you again have that power to adjust your game for something like this. You're the GM; it's your world. Another way of applying this is the spotlight moments I was talking about. And you're just trying to give each of your players a chance to shine. It doesn't have to necessarily be a specific quest. It could be a character-driven quest for that session, and you're intentionally moving the spotlight from character to character. Example of a simple way you might be able to do this is, let's say it's one of these sort of travel montages or something like that, and the spotlight shines on each character who is doing some sort of skill or whatever it is at a particular junction of the journey, right? Or you're shooting that spotlight around a role play moment, that kind of thing. But again, you can tie this into the big story, right? Your quests are designed not just to further the story, to move the plot forward, but to utilize each character's unique traits and abilities and skills, because now that gives them the sense that not only are they helping the story move forward, but the story only move forward because they did something. They have value. They have worth. They're part of the party. I think that's what this all these tips and strategies boil down to. Just bringing your players in and giving them a reason to be engaged because their characters are doing stuff and they're important, and you know why they're important because you've looked at their backstories. All right, implementation. Where, when, how are you going to do this? Integrating backstories. I've said it time and again at this point. You have group missions that you're coming up. Again, group is always important, going in a direction, heading down the plot, everybody's involved. But this mission has special relevance to an individual character or maybe two. It's going to be significant to them because you know the backstory, you know their history, you know their goals, you know their fears. You've actually talked to the player. Hey, I want to do a session that gets your character more involved. I'm thinking this or that. Any thoughts you have, or does this sound cool, or give me some feedback, that sort of thing. Look for ways that whatever these individual features of those characters and what they want to do, how can they intersect with the main plot? How can we use that character's sailor background, where they used to, be a pirate or whatever, and apply it to this subterranean game world? What could we come up with that would be fun? Parallel plots is another way to implement this strategy. If you create parallel plot lines, that you have the player's personal story, their personal quest is heading in a direction, and it's the same direction that the main plot's headed, it's a win-win situation. So these plots can be made personal, and as long as they're parallel, everybody's happy because it's going in the same direction. And by them getting there, they're going to help the group get there because the group needs to go there for their own reasons anyway. And seeing you get there gets everybody excited and happy. Like, oh, we're also going to get to solve this mystery for your family member who's disappeared. Couple examples here. The personal story, the character needs to retrieve some artifact, some heirloom or whatever it is. But this thing also has a key to some group challenge that's coming up, or a group challenge that needs to be overcome immediately. Also, another example is confronting this adversary that, is the big bad evil guy, but they're also tied into one of the player characters' own personal stories. I've mentioned maybe it's a family member, or maybe it's somebody who, you know, killed their parents in an earlier, session, or, back in the past type of thing. So those are a couple ways you can implement this concept of characters, their own stories, and bringing them into the main plot. Example from my game roll to give you here is in the current session that I'm running. We're getting to this point, so this is a little bit of a spoiler alert for any of my Tuesday players. By the way, this is loosely planned. This is not the plan. Okay, so for those of you guys, my players, and this is also out to the other GMs out there, I never lock down on exactly what's going to happen, because things are always in flux, and I'm always keeping my plot threads loose, so I can, as players pluck and pull on different things, I can, weave things in different directions. So this is just a couple ideas where I wouldn't mind things going, but I don't know if they're going to go there, and things could change based upon what happens in the next session. But here's the idea. Key to the Vanta Sphere is what we're calling this example. So I mentioned a couple of these characters in a couple of my previous videos. So if you haven't seen those yet, like, subscribe, notified, go check out my playlist where I'm talking about these various strategies, and I talk about this character Nezni as an example. So the background of this Key to the Vanta Sphere example is this: that after she was cast out by her Orog clan, this character named Nezni, this cleric, this cult member, she seeks to redefine her strength and earn a place of respect. And if she can't get it with her tribe anymore, her clan, she's found it in this new cult she's joined, the Harbingers of Freedom. And as she joins this cult, she learns that they are desperate to enter this place known as the Vanta Sphere, this bubble of utter black, think black hole, spreading energy that is slowly creeping and swallowing up everything in its path. It's like a sphere of annihilation sort of thing. It's like a black hole that's spreading. So these harbingers want to get in there. This sphere is this chaos realm, this chaos energy, and the harbingers believe it holds the key to ultimate freedom, which is like their big goal. And so Nezni, seeing this new cult as kind of her adopted family, or they've adopted her, she sees this as an opportunity to claim the power to become strong, that her clan that, kicked her out and exiled her, they would never imagine this strength. And so she wants to return to them so mighty and powerful they'll finally give her the respect that she craves. So this is all about self-worth, this idea. So Nezni learns there's a key, whatever the key may be, to enter the Vanta Sphere, and by securing it, she plans to aid the Harbinger's goals of getting access to this Vanta Sphere and the associated power, and this will prove that she is worthy of the Harbinger's acceptance into their cult, and by proxy, the worship, or the worthiness from her clan that excommunicated her. Now, that's Nezni's personal goal, right? Get this key, get some power, get some respect, find self-worth. Well, what about the party? What is the party getting out of this? So there needs to be a parallel goal, something that they're going to achieve as well, that by helping Nezni, or Nezni helping them, or them moving in the same direction, it's this win-win scenario. So parallel party goals in this scenario are as follows. Disrupting plans. The party, including Nezni, is realizing there's the big bad evil guy. It's a construct, an AI, an arcano intelligence by the name of Nexus, and this entity also wants to get inside the Vanta Sphere. Exactly why, they're not sure yet. Maybe to harness the energy, which they'll use to further its expansion and assimilation of biological creatures. Maybe it's to make more potent forms of its nanite, these little micro clockwork that it uses to infect living people. Who knows? But if the party gets this key first by helping Nezni, that could allow them to thwart Nexus's plans. Maybe. Another option, or another advantage for the party going in this direction along with Nezni, is that if they get this key, the Vanta Sphere. It's what they know a little bit about right now. It's got lots of chaotic energies. We're talking. But maybe it's a home to all kinds of entities and powers that could be useful, could be pivotal in some sort of fight against the Nexus in the future. And if the party can get into the sphere safely, maybe they can get an alliance going, they can harness these powers. It could tip the scales in their favor. So again, hey, maybe we help Nezni, we help ourselves, we take down Nexus. Whoops. And the last, example of a goal here, insights into a nanite cure. As I mentioned in one of the previous videos, aside from Nezni wanting to join this cult and the Nexus being a threat to the game world, one of the character's siblings, a young girl by the name of Hope, who is the little sister of a bard character by the name of Welverin, she's been infected with these assimilants and has been, or infected with the nanites, and has been turned into one of these assimilants, one of these thralls, these biological slaves to the Nexus, and they're slowly being corrupted and converted into mechanical, like cyborg entities. So here's the idea here: the chaotic energy of this Vanta Sphere. It holds clues or some sort of method to disrupt the nanite control. It gives a potential avenue for the cure. And understanding the sphere, the energies, the party might uncover weaknesses in the nanite technology. Maybe they discover some ancient knowledge in there about how to counter these threats. Who knows? But if they can get this key, they can get control or get access or have a safe way to get in and out of the Vanta Sphere. Now they have a leg up on the Nexus. All right, so those are just some examples. Now, hey, what should you be getting out of this, or what hopefully did you get out of this video today? Takeaways. By employing these character-specific quests, you'll be able to remember or make sure that each of your characters is going to feel essential to your game. If you could do this, if their characters are essential, and you do this by aligning their personal stories with the group's goals, they're going to feel like, man, I'm part of this thing and I want to come back next week. I want to contribute more. I want to see where this is going because we're in the same direction. Another takeaway here is that this is going to validate that character's role in your story. Nothing's worse than making a cool character and never actually getting to do anything with them because the story doesn't need them. The story's doing its own thing. This character could just be generic hero number 7, rather than this cool character story concept that you came up with. So if you have these, character specific things, then that character's existence is validated. The other takeaway from this is that you're trying to encourage collaborative storytelling by using this technique or this strategy. Your individual characters, their stories, their narratives, they're contributing to and they're honored by and within the main plot itself. Again, they're important, they're relevant, they matter. And I think the last thing here, last takeaway, is that this is going to allow you to balance individual character focus, so you can shift that spotlight around from character to character, create a personal quest here and there, and it's going to, you moderate that and balance it with the overall journey, because not only is it a focus on that player, on that character, and it's important for their story, but because it's also important for the main story, it's that win-win, right? It's balanced out. If this personal thing happens for the character, great. They're excited, they're engaged. At the same time, the story's moving forward. This group has been successful. The whole group is now engaged. Everybody's moving forward. All right, so there you go. That is the ideas here for this method, the strategy of taking character-specific quests and weaving them into your overall plot. Hopefully this is some more useful information to you. I've got 4 more of these I want to knock out in the next few days to wrap up this series. And if you're finding them interesting, finding them useful, you know what to do. You like the vid, you subscribe to the channel, you click your notifies, so you know when the next one's coming out. You put some comments down below, some of your own thoughts on some of the things I'm talking about. All right, everybody, have yourselves a good night and take it easy.